Welcome back, Leveling Up Nation. This is your host, Brigham Black. I'm your success story strategist. And this is a very special day. This is the first time I've had someone in the crypto market that is an absolute genius when it comes to understanding this topic that feels so ethereal to me. He's going to break it down and tell some untold truths about crypto. And I'm so excited to have him. Welcome, Dane, to the call, man. So grateful for you, man, to come on out.
It's good to be here, man. I'm excited for this.
Excellent. Well, let's first dive into why you are the expert that is going to bring crypto to my audience. Tell us a little bit more about this asset class, how you discovered it, kind of the aha moment for you to say, wow, this is a really interesting topic. And it's not just something that you can hear about, but a way that you've been able to grow your business and pour some of those profits into properties, which we love making money and then putting that money into properties. So yeah, tell me a little bit more.
Let's do it, man. So I've been a real estate investor, a full-time real estate investor for almost a decade. And I've been really blessed. I've done hundreds of transactions. I've built rental portfolios. I've done developments. I've wholesaled and flipped hundreds of properties, all mostly in Utah. And it's been a wild ride. And once again, I feel just incredibly blessed from that journey. We made a bunch of money, and it's been great. There was a big aha moment. This was, about 4 years ago, when my wife came to me and she had a really cool family vacation she wanted us to go on. And so she presented the idea to me, and I said, it sounds great. But I was like most real estate investors, most entrepreneurs in general, where I was running and gunning. We were making, our fair share of income, but time was limited, right? I'm working a lot of hours. I'm doing a lot of stuff. And I said, let's do it. I've just got to create some time. And she's heard me talk about how entrepreneurship can not only give us financial benefits, but also time freedom benefits. And she said, she looked me in the eye and she said, Dane, when are you gonna create the time freedom benefits that I hear you talk about? Because you aren't there right now. And she was right. She was absolutely right. So many people, we have conversations about this every day, people joining our community where people have created essentially 7-figure prisons where, once again, you're killing it financially, but you don't have any time. The time is not yours. And so I was at that place, and I was at a crossroads, frankly, because I wasn't getting some of the fulfillment that I used to get from real estate anymore. I wanted more time freedom. And I'm somebody that, frankly, I don't really care about the vehicle so much as the opportunity where we can ethically provide good services and make a lot of money. That's all that I care about. Like, I fancy myself a true entrepreneur. I'm just here to make money with the people that I know, like, and trust. And it's that simple. And real estate is great, but man, once again, limited time. And so I knelt down and I prayed, and I said, God, I know you've led me thus far. We've gone through some really cool ups and downs, and I feel like there's change on the horizon. I'm just gonna start trying stuff out and guide me. That was it. It's pretty simple. And the way that I approach life is this. And I'm telling you, I think this is everything changed in my life as an entrepreneur when I started practicing surrender instead of force. I started surrendering to the things that God would put in my path instead of forcing my way into places that I felt like I should go. The revenue goals I should hit, marketing metrics and whatnot. And I see so many entrepreneurs today, and you see these ideas of, like, people really pushing the grind and the hustling, and that's fine for a season. But gosh, if you let things come to you instead of chasing your magnet where you can attract things to you, it changes everything. And so I think that magnetism is pretty simple. I put energy into things that I find interesting. And if that thing is a good path, I'll know, because there won't be a lot of resistance. There won't be a lot of friction. Things will kind of come together seamlessly and effortlessly. And if they do, then I use that as a sign, hey, I should put more energy here, as opposed to something where I put some energy and there's a lot of conflict and, reservations and anxiety. Well, then that's a sign that's like, nah, this isn't for us right now. And so crypto was one of those things where I bought my first Bitcoin in 2017. I dabbled like many people, you know, you get a Coinbase or Robinhood account, you dabble a little, and I'd had some wins and plenty of losses. And I said, you know, I wonder what would happen if I took the same amount of time that I'm putting into real estate. What would happen if I put it into crypto? I wonder if I could make some moves. And so I did. I saw this last bull run. I think 4 years ago, I likely left somewhere between $5 and $15 million on the table, just not paying closer attention. And I said, I'm not going to do that again. And so I just started paying attention a few years ago. And
Hmm.
this doesn't happen for everybody. I want to make sure that I qualify this story. But man, sometimes God gives you crumbs to follow, and sometimes he rolls out the red carpet and gives you a big freaking clear as day sign. And this is one of those where he rolled out the red carpet. I took $5,000 and I just started trying out things in crypto, particularly generating passive income. I wanted to try to make enough passive income that I could buy myself some more freedom, right? So $5,000, I start dabbling. Things are going really well. And so, long story short, over a period of about 4 months, I scaled in $100,000. And that $100,000, I'd scaled in particularly that amount because the passive income that I was creating at the time, that 100 grand should have theoretically thrown off about $20,000 a month in passive income. And you compare that to any other asset class. Show me another place where you can get that. Well, I've got news for you. It is only crypto. There's nowhere else where you can do that. And so I did. I took the leap of faith. I put the 100 grand in, and I got to the 20 grand a month. And I hadn't accounted for some of the appreciation that would kick in. So that 20 grand grew to 30, and then to 40, and then 45, and then 50, where I was at the height of this passive income, or these passive income streams. I was making 50K a month on 100 grand while I slept.
Wow.
Like it was true passive income. And man, like you don't have to be a genius to say, hey, there's something here with that experience, right? And so so I said, well,
Mhm.
I'm in it. I'm in it. Let's go. And I literally shut down my 7-figure wholesaling and flipping operation. I gave it to my little brother. I sold all my rentals. I had 25 doors at the time. I sold all my rentals and I rolled all the capital into crypto. And so now that's what we do. So that's my experience. That's my big aha moment. And man, I mean, I don't know how many rentals you might own or have owned in the past. I mean, a really good one, you know, you make, you know, 5, 6, 7, maybe even $1,000 a month on we'll use single family in this example. Like I had a couple where I was doing great and I was making, you know, like
Sure.
700 to $1,000 a month net. But man, like, and then in an instant, I had one where I had tenants come through and destroy the property, and literally 100 months of revenue was gone in an instant. Just poof. And you have to
Hmm.
deal with tenants, the toilets, and all that stuff. Like the risk to reward value proposition there is not great when it comes to single family rentals. And so so I said there's got to be a better way. And the way that I like to play the real estate game now is I like two things about real estate. I like to be the money in deals so that I could get the tax benefits. The tax benefits are unmatched. You can't really beat real estate. Tax benefits are fabulous, especially if you qualify as a real estate professional. And so, so that's what I like to do. And you need skills of economy. So I like bigger deals with more doors. We can have an in-house manager, things of that nature. And now we've got something. I will never go own a bunch of single family rentals ever again. Never.
Awesome. So if I understand your story correctly, because you saw the income potential with Bitcoin,
Not
this
Bitcoin.
was
Yeah.
not
And
Bitcoin. Sorry. I need to make sure
crypto
that's
in
not
general.
Bitcoin or Doge, not specific. This is cryptocurrency,
Sure.
more general. So you are focusing in on making sure that these digital currencies, you're buying, selling, trading them. You've understood how to build that business in a way that it is now churning off literally 20 plus to maybe $50,000 a month in passive income. And that income stream, you are taking that and putting it into multifamily properties, basically. That's pretty amazing. how many of these multifamily properties have you been able to successfully, start to fund?
Yeah,
Just
so
curious.
we've been part of a lot of different deals, and I think time horizons are really important. Here's another really good example. I think everybody that's invested in real estate, I mean, how many real estate meetups have you gone to and somebody says, "Oh, if we could go back to 2010, 11, and 12 and buy them all up, we'd buy it all." And of course, right? Because you have surety, because you know
Mhm.
what the future would bring. Nobody did at that time, and so few people did that. However, if you would have done that, right, the time horizon was to hold that stuff till roughly like 2022, and then look to take profits on a lot of it, frankly. And you're seeing a lot of market struggle right now. You're seeing a lot of properties for sale in Florida and gosh, what other markets? Florida is one that I'm real familiar with. Texas, some of these markets that you're starting to see the beginnings of struggles, and especially multifamily is hard to buy right now. It's very difficult. There are so many multifamily people just sitting on the sidelines, haven't bought something in years because the opportunities just aren't rampant like they once were. And so time horizons are really important to understand, and specifically with cryptocurrency, the time horizon with crypto, we don't we should theoretically have the next crypto top about a year from now. Somewhere between September and November of 2025 is when we should have the next crypto top as a whole, roughly speaking. And
Mhm.
that's the time at which we'll go back and look at deploying into more real estate. Now is not the time to buy real estate, in my opinion.
Okay. So for you, it is building your business as fast as you can with this crypto engine. And then,
Yeah, exactly. You want to build your passive income streams, then I like to use those and I like to compound the gains, right? So I like to
Mhm.
take those positions. I like to take the passive income and buy other positions. They're free positions, right? So
Oh,
I can create new free positions from the passive income that I've gained. And it's a beautiful and remarkable way to be able to generate revenue. And not only that, but gosh, like it doesn't hardly take any time. I'm telling you, like once you have your stuff set up, I think
mhm.
I likely spend, anywhere from maybe an hour or an hour to 2 hours a month managing my crypto portfolio. Like it's
Wow.
barely any time. Some of the guys in our community that are more active, they'll spend, some of them spend a few hours a week just because they want to be in it and be clicking buttons. But for the most part, like once you're rocking and rolling, it doesn't take hardly any time. So we want to use crypto to make as much money as humanly possible over the next year. Gosh, there's so many examples of people turning, and we've done it. I mean, I can give you countless examples from our community.
Mhm.
My best win, one of our guys in our community, my buddy Eric, sold his trucking company. He had extra capital that he was working with. I told him about what we were doing with cryptocurrency and how we take those profits and turn them into properties at the end of the crypto bull run at the end of next year. And he said he wanted to come and play the game. And so he'd been with us for 3 weeks. I taught him how to buy. We hadn't even got into how to sell yet because he was still so new. And he called me one day and he said, "Dane, I was on the road speaking at an event." He said, "Dane, I think you need to show me how to sell something." And I said, "Oh, what happened?" He said, "Well, while you were gone, one of the guys in the community posted one of the tokens that I decided to buy." He said, "I put 3 grand in, and it's worth 70K right now." And I said,
Wow.
"Really?" I said, "When did you buy that?" And he said, "Oh, 3 days ago." So 3 days, 3 grand into 70K. And so I said, "Well, yeah, let's make sure we manage risk well. Let's take some chips off the table." So we did. We sold. And then after I jumped off the call with him, he put all the chips back on. He pushed all of them back in. He bought everything back. He bought it all back in. 5 days. So that's day 3. 2 days later. So a total of 5 days since he bought, that position grew to a point where it was worth almost 400 grand. And now you've got something, right? Like you could buy some real estate with 400K. You could buy a lot of real estate, in fact, and you started with 3 grand. And so we've got,
Wow.
tons of guys like that. I've got Tyler, for instance, that more recently, this is a cool story. Tyler has a rental there in Utah, and the rental was a really good one. Kind of like the examples I explained before. He's doing about what was he doing? About $700 a month on the single family house. But the problem was he had 200K in equity tied up. And so a
Mhm.
lot of people that own rentals, well, they look at, they look at their return on cash and things of this nature, but a lot of people don't evaluate the return on equity, because once you build up enough equity, well, if you're making, two, three, $400 a month on 200K in equity, well, is that a good use of that money? And maybe you should consider repositioning. I would consider repositioning at that point. You build up a lot of equity. And so Tyler was looking at how he built his crypto portfolio and what he was getting in real estate. And he said, you know what, if I sold this rental property and I rolled the money over here to crypto, what could I do with it? Well, long story short, he sells that property, takes the 200K, puts it into crypto, and now he's making 10 to 15K a month on that instead of $700. Like, that is the opportunity that's available right now. And it's only available till, like I said, about the end of 2025, at which point you want to be getting out of crypto and be looking at real estate again, at likely real estate again, because the bull run will be up. So time horizons are everything.
Okay, so let me see if I can break this down, because I still feel so brand new to crypto. I feel like
Let's unpack it.
I'm just gambling with ones and zeros. How can you dumb it down to like a kindergartner level? What does the service actually look like? Like, what is the value that you're providing to the market so that you can create that extra income? What does that look like?
Oh yeah. So okay. So we'll start from the very beginning. We'll start with the crypto basics, crypto 101. Okay. So there's two terms you've likely heard, but likely can't explain them to me because you don't know what they are. Those two terms being blockchain and crypto. Is that an accurate assumption? You couldn't explain those back?
Basically,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine, and that's most people. So let me kind of dumb this down. So crypto was born out of the 2008 financial collapse. Do you know how many bankers went to prison over the 2008 financial collapse?
Not enough of them.
I can tell you, not one. Not a single one went to jail over that. And they're the ones that created the problem. In fact, the government invited them in and said, "What do you guys think we should do?" That's akin to my child robbing a candy store and then me saying, "Hey, what do you think we should do about this kid?" And they say, "Hey, just bring the candy to our house so I can have it all here." That's essentially what happened. The banker said, "Hey, why don't you just go print a bunch of money, so give it to us, and then we'll try to fix it." And guess what? They enriched themselves, and we, the people, we, the public, are left paying the tab in inflation. You can't tell me that you don't go to the gas pump in the grocery store or anywhere else and you don't feel it. We all do, right? And so that is fundamentally what crypto was born out of. That's where you get the advent of Bitcoin, where Bitcoin was launched. And it's a beautiful thing. And this is how Bitcoin works at a very oversimplified level. So we'll make a comparison here. So let's look at Bitcoin and we'll compare it to the dollar. So Bitcoin is simply currency that can be traded back and forth. Now it's volatile currency, given it can go up and down quite a bit, but it has some technology built into it that's critical and that's really important to cryptocurrency. It has blockchain technology. So the blockchain technology is kind of like the internet, if you will, and the cryptocurrencies are like internet businesses built on the internet. So you have Comcast, the internet company, and then built into that infrastructure is right Google and Netflix and whoever else. So that example, are you following? Does that example make sense so far? Okay, perfect. So yeah, blockchain is the foundation. Cryptocurrency is built on top of it. The cool thing with the blockchain technology is at its simplest level, all it is a big ledger. It's a spreadsheet of information, financial data that's simply showing the flows of money on the blockchain. It's showing, hey, if I sent some Bitcoin to you, well, the miners, people run miners. The miners are just computers that consume a lot of power. These miners, they solve equations that confirm transactions. So if I send you some Bitcoin, the miners get together, they confirm that transaction, and then they take that information of that transaction, they store it in what's called a block, and there's lots of information stored in one block, and then once that block is full, it's stored. It's stored, and anyone can go and access that information. So it's just information that's being stored that's publicly available. And the beauty of this is that we're all naked on the blockchain, if you will. Everybody can see what's going on. And it forces everybody to be honest. You can see where the money's moving. And think about it this way. I mean, imagine if you could see if you could see Nancy Pelosi's portfolio, and if you could see in real time when her or her husband goes and moves funds and buys a stock. Well, Nancy's been the best stock trader in like 100 years. I can tell you why she is. It's because she's closest to the information. But nonetheless, wouldn't it be valuable information if you could see that, like real-time information? Nancy just went and bought this stock. Well, I'll go buy the stock then, right? And you can do that on the blockchain. You can do that. Somebody that's got $100 million, hey, they just moved funds and bought said thing. Well, that information is readily available instantly to everybody that just wants to pay attention. And so it forces everybody to be honest. And there's different blockchains and different cryptocurrencies, but that's blockchain at a fundamental level. And then the individual cryptocurrencies built on the blockchains are essentially financial experiments to be able to see, hey, will this new financial idea, how will it perform? And some of the ideas have performed spectacularly. Something like Bitcoin has gone up 6.5 million X. If you would have had $1 in Bitcoin in the early days, it'd be worth about $6.5 million today. That'd be about 6 million. I think Bitcoin's about 60K right now. So, I mean, like, you can't beat that. It is bananas. But there's plenty of things, right, that have failed as well. Just like in business or in the stock market, there's going to be plenty of ideas that fail. And so if you can build a framework through which you can look through and you can identify, hey, these are the deals that are likely or more likely to do well than these ones. Well, it's the same as investing in real estate at that point. You're just going through, you have a criteria and you're saying, hey, this data is saying that this real estate property should be a good deal if I buy it for X number of dollars and I put a tenant in here. It's the same thing. You're just going through building a criteria to look through stuff and then buy the things that you feel like are likely to do well. So that is cryptocurrency at its simplest level.
So let me see if I can do this in my own version of understanding this.
Yeah, let's see if I did a good job.
You've got the blockchain, which is basically all of the foundation of all these different type Doge and Bitcoin, all these different currencies. And those are these experiments you're talking about. And then what you're doing is you are looking and trading back and forth and recognizing which opportunities you can buy low and sell higher.
That's where it gets
trading back and forth. Is that what your business model is trading back and forth?
So sometimes, but most of the time, right? My goal with doing crypto was time freedom. I wanted to make money and I wanted to have time freedom. So that's another thing that many people find themselves in cryptocurrency. In fact, if you go and Google right now, how do I invest in crypto? You'll get like 3 pages of somebody telling you on the other side of the screen that you should come and trade cryptocurrency. And that's the best way to participate in the market. You're telling me that somebody with likely no trading experience ever, or maybe a little bit, is going to walk into the most volatile asset class known to man, and they're going to make some money trading? You're kidding yourself. It's not true. That's not going to work out. And it doesn't for most people. In fact, we go to conferences all the time and we say, hey, who's bought crypto before? All hands, hands go up. I say, who's lost money in crypto? All the hands stay up. You know what I mean? Because they come in and they're trying to trade these markets that in short time frames are really hard to nail. But in longer time horizons, it's much easier. So for instance, the real estate market tends to have about an 18.5-year cycle where markets trend up for about that time before they tumble, and they tumble for a few years and then we're back up again. Well, crypto is 4. It's 4-year cycles. You have these boom and bust cycles. Crypto goes up every 4 years for about 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving, at which point you want to be looking at taking profits and going and doing something else in the meantime. And if you know, in addition, how to make passive income on your cryptocurrency, well, you can ride the waves. You don't have to be in there day trading. In fact, you probably shouldn't be. Even the guys that are really good at this miss too. And so it's much better to be able to understand the timing, the time horizons, buy the things that in my opinion, the way we approach it are newer things that have really big upside, but we can look at them through our criteria or buying criteria and say, hey, does this check 5 boxes? If it does, well, then we want to buy that thing. We want to be patient through this bull run, ride the waves, make passive income. You make passive income, the things that we like, mining, staking, and liquidity providing. We can dig into those if you want, but essentially you can take your crypto, you can do one of those 3 activities with it. The computer does all the work, and you just hang out and collect passive income.
Okay. So you said mining. I basically understand mining, which is you have a computer and it sorts all this data. Hey, here's a transaction, there's a transaction. You're basically accruing a little bit of a lot of different transactions, almost like a credit card, right? Like you swipe a credit card,
Yeah,
you get
it's collecting the information, it's making the information go through, so it's validating transactions. So this is a cool thing. You can't go and fake a transaction on the blockchain because the miners have to come to what's called consensus. It just means agreement that a transaction that goes through, that it's a legitimate transaction. And then if it is, when they come to agreement, they confirm transaction, and then the receipt of transaction is then stored away so that people can reference that transaction, that it did indeed take place, the date of the transaction, the amount, what money moved to what wallet, so on and so forth. So that's what mining is. Yeah, you just go run a computer. There's really expensive ways to mine, like with Bitcoin. It's not profitable. Don't go waste your money and time mining Bitcoin. You'd be a lot better off just buying the coin than spending money on miners. But man, you can come in. I mean, we're mining right now. You can mine other blockchains that just have a different technology. So Bitcoin is called proof of work type of mining technology, where it takes a ton of power and computer bandwidth. There's others like Ethereum or Pulse Chain, for instance, that use a proof of stake model, where rather than running a big computer, you can do it on pretty well any computer as long as you know a little bit of technology and coding and whatnot, and your computer will go and go and do the same thing essentially as Bitcoin miners, but without taking tons of power, and it does it simply, and you get rewards for doing so. So that's kind of cool. So that is mining as a whole. Yeah, that's generally what mining is. And then the other 2 ways that we like are called liquidity providing and staking. So you had asked a great question earlier. What's the service you're providing that you can make the passive income? Well, the mining, you're running computers, validating transactions. They're essentially running the blockchain. So that's the service in mining. Let's talk about staking briefly, and then liquidity providing, because liquidity providing is a lot more interesting. So staking is cool. It's kind of like, do you own any stocks that pay a dividend?
I know of them. I don't personally have any dividend stocks.
I don't either. They don't pay out worth a crap. But the idea is a cool one, and that's why I don't own any of them, because they don't hardly pay out anything. You could go and buy Coca-Cola stock today, and the principle is that just for owning the stock, right, they give you a dividend. I think it's quarterly, which is a portion, a small portion, albeit, of some of the revenue they generated from the previous quarter. It's cool. It's kind of like a cool incentive for people to come and just hold that stock. Well, we can do the same thing, but we can do it on the blockchain, and we can make a lot more money, and we can do it a lot more frequently than just once a quarter. So there's some really cool different applications. Now, mining varies a little bit in how it works, or I should say staking varies a little bit, kind of just like mining does on different blockchains and applications and things. But essentially, the mining or the staking that we like is much like a stock dividend, where there are crypto platforms that generate revenue, typically through fees. And just for owning that cryptocurrency, well, they distribute the fees across the holders. And you've got to understand that these are companies that once you build it, well, much of the time, there's not a lot of operating expenses once the thing is built and released into the wild. And so a lot more revenue from these companies is distributed most of the time to the holders than Coca-Cola does, for instance. And so you can make, frankly, a lot of money just staking. And essentially that's just holding this cryptocurrency and signifying that you're a holder. For doing that, they pay you out some of the revenue. It's a crypto dividend, if you will. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And
Okay,
that's just
cool.
you taking the risk of saying, hey, I put the capital in, I'm going to hold on to this. And they're saying, thanks for taking that risk. Here's a little bit of the revenue.
Yeah, you nailed it. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Very good. And then the third way is liquidity providing, and this is one of the most fruitful ways to make the best APRs, to make the most passive income. Now it's a more advanced, and there's
What do
more
you mean by
risk involved.
APR? I don't know what that term means. You gotta keep it simple for me.
Yeah. So the APR is just the percentage rate that you're earning over the year, right? That's
Okay.
a great
I
point.
know
Thank you for
percentage rate.
pointing that
That's
out.
APR like a car or something. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just think of the percentage rate you're earning each year. If you're going to make, 30% or 200% or whatever it may be, that's the percentage rate we're going to earn over a year.
Mhm.
And the service here is unique. It's really cool. So here's a question for you. Have you ever bought cryptocurrency on Coinbase or Robinhood or anything like that before?
Bought one time and it was an awful experience. So that's why we're talking, because I want to,
Okay.
when I do this in the future, I want to do it right.
Okay. No, that's great. Where did you buy? What exchange did you use? Do you remember?
It was, I just transferred it over Cash App.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah, Cash App is one.
they just exchange to Bitcoin and back. So
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you can do it on Cash App, Robinhood, or Coinbase. It doesn't matter. There's lots of places. Um, let's use Coinbase, for instance, or Binance. They have built a business model, which good for them. I wish I'd have thought of it as a genius idea, where what they do is they provide the assets for people to come and trade. And every time that a customer trades on their platform, you pay a fee. Whether your trade wins or loses, you pay a fee. And the house always wins. So in this scenario, the house wins and they win every day and they win in huge, huge amounts, enormous amounts. In fact, Binance generates, I believe it's $5 billion a year in trading fees from their customers coming and trading on their platform. It's bananas. And get this, Brigham, this is important. Nobody reads the disclaimer when they go and they set up a crypto exchange account. But the disclaimers on almost all of these platforms say, oh, and hey, by the way, if we go bankrupt, your assets are actually not your own. They're ours. And we have the right to go and sell them and pay our creditors. And if there's anything left, we'll give you the crumbs. It's crazy. But
Dang.
nobody reads the fine print. So you need to make sure that you understand how to protect yourself when you come in and you play the game in cryptocurrency. But nonetheless, that point aside, these guys are making billions of dollars a year just by providing the assets and charging a fee each time somebody trades it. But gosh, crypto once again was not made for the bankers and the venture capitalists to get rich and to make more money. It was made for us, for we the people, we the public, to go and have an opportunity at some really cool financial instruments that historically have only been available to bankers and venture capital firms. So I can go and participate in deals on the blockchain that I would absolutely have to be a banker or venture capitalist to do in traditional markets. Liquidity providing is a good example of one, where essentially rather than Binance or Coinbase or one of these other crypto platforms getting the assets and putting them up and making them available to trade, well, I can do that. I can do that on a decentralized exchange. I can buy a cryptocurrency, or a couple, have to be at least two, depends on the platform, some of that type of stuff. We're not going to get into it to too much of the weeds, but in this instance, most of the time it's two. I can buy two different crypto assets. I can put them in a pair, a trading pair, and I can offer it up to the market here on a decentralized exchange and say, hey, here's my assets. If you want to come and trade between these assets, well, feel free to do so, and you're going to pay me a fee each time you do. And the cool thing is it's not just me doing that. It's me and hundreds of thousands, now likely millions of other people across the world doing the same thing. So if I have token A and B that I've put into a pair and allowed trading between those, there's likely, hundreds of thousands of other people also providing same A and B tokens. And so it's not just my tokens are being traded, but it's a big like slush fund, if you will. And we're all earning fees on this. And you earn more if you have a larger percentage of that pool. But I'm not going to get into the weeds. So it's cool because once again, we're doing essentially the same business model as Binance or Coinbase. We're offering up the assets and we earn a fee each time someone comes in and trades the asset. I mean, I've had a 12-hour period where I put up 40K in assets and that people could trade back and forth between. They did, and I made $5,000 in total of like 12 hours on 40 grand. Like, it's
Wow.
bananas. It's literally a money printer. It took me 5 minutes to set up, and then I went off and I did my day, whatever I was going to do, while the profits just rolled in. It's freaking crazy. Tyler, that I gave the example of earlier with the rental that he sold, he did that only after he came in and he took $5,000. He put into one of these liquidity pools, and he made that same $700 that he was slotted to make on his rental property that month. He made it in a day, and he was like, "Wow, I can make that in a day." And so these tools are sophisticated tools that are not that difficult to use once you have a little bit of a bearing and an understanding of how they work. And literally, once you create these, they're money printing machines that you don't have to really manage. In fact, the only thing you have to do at that point is decide when you want to come back and pull your funds and take the profits and go do something else with them.
Yeah. So let's talk about this, because I know one of the reasons that I invest in real estate is because it's a hard asset. It's something that you can actually trade. If the market falls out, you still have the utility value of that property. You can still
Right.
rent it out.
People
You can
always
still
live in a
have
house,
cash
right?
flow. People are always going to need housing.
Yeah.
At what point do you feel the risk for crypto is so high that you're like, oh, I need to pull some of the funds to make sure that that market, while it's low, you don't mess with it. You know what I mean? Where you are
Yeah.
focusing on, hey, it's a high market, you're starting to make a lot of money really relatively quickly, and
Oh
not
yeah.
necessarily easily,
There,
but
there's a really easy,
there's a
yeah, a
high
really
risk. So
yeah. So there's a really easy way on the blockchain to de-risk. Have you ever heard the term called stablecoin?
mm-mm.
Okay, cool. So this is something that I think a lot of people are less familiar with. They're familiar with the volatility of crypto going way up and way down. Less familiar with what are called stable coins. So stable coins, there's a lot of variations on the blockchain, but essentially what they are is they're created to take the volatility out of cryptocurrency so that you can have your money on the blockchain but not be exposed to the volatility. Rather, it's like holding dollars on the blockchain. I can go and hold my dollars there. They're not going to go up and down. They just stay at a dollar. One stable coin equals $1 in the real world. I could go and I could change them back and forth at any time from my bank to the blockchain or the blockchain to my bank. And so when I want to get out of something, in fact, I did that more recently. One of the cryptocurrencies that we bought about a month ago did a 4x over the last month. So, 100,000 or $1,000 turned into $4,000 in the last month in appreciation. That was pretty good. It looked like the chart was getting a little bit toppy. And so I said, I'm going to de-risk a little bit here. And so I took some and I sold some and I put it in stable coins. I just traded the volatile assets for the not volatile asset, and now my money can hang out there. It's on the blockchain still, and I can even make money on my dollars on the blockchain. In fact, a lot of the time I can make sometimes clear up to 30% APR, 30% on my money per year without the volatility of cryptocurrency just hanging out on the blockchain. In fact, we have a lot of people that used to do a lot of hard money lending in the real estate space, but they didn't like the risk involved there. They didn't like being worried about whether or not the people they lent money to would actually perform and taking deals back if they didn't. And so rather they reposition their capital because they could go make, 15, 20, 30% on their stable coins without having to worry about any of that.
Okay. So one of the biggest things that is hard for me to get into crypto is it still feels ethereal, and it's not something that is tangible. What did you do to be able to understand it at such a level that you can now go teach other people and be able to confidently say, hey, this is how you make money doing this. This is the way that we'll make it so you can not eliminate risk, but you mitigate risk with knowledge. What are some of the ways you've done that?
Yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend if you're looking at. In fact, I think you're a great example, Brigham. I remember I was in your shoes a number of years ago, and in fact, I asked the same question. I was at a real estate conference. The event coordinator had rented out a mansion out in where were we? We were out in the hills of Tennessee. I remember the city in a little bit. It's a big vacation spot. This beautiful mansion. There was a movie theater in the basement, and so it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And one of the guys was a big Bitcoiner, and he's like, I'll teach you what crypto is. So we all went down there. Anyone that wanted to listen at like 2 in the morning, we sat in this movie theater, and he did a beautiful job explaining it. And so if you are in that same scenario where you're like, gosh, I can't quite wrap my head around what crypto is, there's a great book. If you like the print copy, you can get it on Amazon. If you're an Audible person like me, you can go download it on Audible. It's called The Bitcoin Standard. They do a pretty good job just explaining conceptually what Bitcoin is, and do a good job explaining the early players in and take a subject that can be very dry and jazz it up and make it interesting enough that conceptually I think you'll get it. So I always recommend that book to everybody, The Bitcoin Standard. That's a great one.
Bitcoin
And
standard.
then as far as me, I mean, frankly, we went and spent the time. I mean, I've spent probably, I would say, over my career as an entrepreneur, I've spent six figures in coaching and events and help easily. Easily. I'm probably pretty close to a couple $100,000 at this point. But that's also allowed me to be able to go and create business opportunities where I've made millions of dollars. And I would do that all day and twice on Sunday. I looked for that same opportunity in cryptocurrency when I came and started taking it seriously a number of years ago. And I couldn't find it, frankly. I could find a bunch of people that would claim that they could come and help me trade, but I didn't want a day trade. I didn't want a second job. I wanted freedom, and I couldn't find it. So I went and honestly, I spent the 10,000 hours in different communities, learning from different people, picking up tips and tricks to come and like develop an investment thesis, have criteria for which, I mean, the last 3 years, I haven't bought anything as long as it checked all five of my due diligence boxes. I haven't bought anything that's gone to zero or been a scam, not one. And there's almost nobody in crypto that can say that. But I'm also not the day trader guy either, right? And so we've spent the time developing all of these things. And then it was pretty funny. I mean, you can imagine, right? If one of your buddies came to you that you knew that was doing a lot of stuff in real estate and they said, I'm shutting all this down to do crypto, you'd probably say you're freaking crazy. And and that's what a lot of my friends said to me when I did that. And I showed them the results, and they're like, gosh, we want a piece of the action too. And so I just started showing them what we were doing. And in time, it made sense just to build it into a curriculum so it's easily digestible for lots of people, and then also offer hand holding. And so that's what we do today. So I tell everybody, look, like if you want to come and participate in crypto, go read the Bitcoin Standard. It's a great book. And then if you want to come and participate in crypto in such a way where you're not day trading and needing to treat it like a second job to stare at the computer screen all day, well, come and talk to us. We've got all sorts of cool things going on. A lot of stuff we do for free or next to free. We even do a big crypto giveaway for in a lot of our events where a lot of people, they attend for free after we give them away the free crypto. So like if you want to come and learn some of the basics, we've got some incredibly inexpensive or free resources where you can plug into our stuff, if you want to check that out.
Love it. Well, Dane, here's one of my favorite questions to ask people when they've been, a little bit farther down the road on their journey to success. What are one of those challenges that absolutely transformed the way that you now think, the way that you were able to process your success? What are some of those setbacks that you turned into successes?
Oh man, I could give you tons of stories. I'll give you my biggest one.
Okay.
This was freaking brutal. Oh my gosh. So I have been, like I said, really blessed in my opinion in what I've been able to accomplish in real estate. I hadn't lost any money prior to 2022 on any deals except one, and that deal I lost $600, which is nothing in real estate terms, right? And so like we were doing fabulously. And then in 2022, I ended up buying a few deals that we've been buying those same type of deals for years. And I thought I was really good at real estate. And the truth of the matter is we're good at some things, but also like when the market's going up, like as long as you're decent, you're gonna do fine, right? And then the market changed, at least in Utah, and it
Mhm.
changed in a pretty significant way where I had a deal that everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Foundation problems that were supposed to be like 60 to 70K, and repairs ended up being double that. My rehab ballooned from a total of like 130K budgeted to 250K. The rehab time went from 6 months to what did we spend on that? Like 16 months.
Mhm.
And I just got eaten alive from the hard money costs. Absolutely murdered. Not only that, but then prices dipped 15%. There goes all my profits. And so I'm doing the numbers and I'm talking to my hard money lender, and I put down a ton of money. We put down a few $100,000 to buy this house. And I'm like, you are gonna be fine, Mr. Hard Money Lender, because I put down a lot of money, but I'm screwed. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose hundreds of thousands of dollars on this deal, and I did. I lost $250,000 on that property. That was followed up by another one where I lost 80 grand on another flip. Similar circumstance, another one where I lost 60, and that was all in a matter of like 6 months. Just,
Mhm.
I mean, you add that up, that's almost 400K, like gone in an instant. Brutal. And you do a lot of soul searching when when you make those type of mistakes. And I'm like, God, what is going on? Like, I feel like we run a good business. I mean, you ask yourself all the questions, right? Do I suck as an entrepreneur? Do I suck at real estate? Is this just like, what were my missteps so I don't create them again? And here's the conclusion I came to from all this is God puts things in your path to lead you in different directions. He absolutely does. Sometimes he opens doors to lead you to places. Sometimes he makes things hard to get you to lift your head up and like look around for a little bit.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I hear all the time in entrepreneurship is to have laser focus, right? To be laser focused on one thing so you can really grow the one thing. And I would generally agree with that sentiment. However, I would add to it that in addition to being laser focused, like poke your head up above water occasionally, take a look around. And if there are things that interest you, then like don't discount that. It's fine to go and look at some other shiny objects. In fact, you might be really surprised what you find if you just look up a little bit. I talked to a guy at an event we spoke at recently, and he's like, "Oh, I've been doing my real estate stuff, and I really like this cool AI platform and how it applies to real estate." And so I just started doing that. Now we have a great platform where I'm more focused on the AI and helping our real estate investors than actually doing the deals. And I make 10 times the money, and the business is way easier than how I was operating before. When we were before texting was even a thing in real estate, I've always tried to like keep my head up and look around. We went and we were driving for dollars in Utah, as this was actually out in Rose Park in Magna. We were
Mhm.
driving around for dollars. My little brother and I, we got 1,000 houses on our list over a period of maybe like a month. Actually, I think it was like 2 weeks. We were very motivated. We were out there driving, man, driving everywhere. And so we got this list of 1,000 leads. And I said, I wonder what would happen if we text messaged them all. And so I did. I text messaged them all. And this was before like text messaging had all these rules and regulations. And I just freaking sent a text blast just to see. That 30 days, we made over 100 grand in wholesale assignment fees from 1,000 properties that took us a month to find. And I went and I built an internal texting platform before anyone was texting like this in mass, because we were making so much money from it. It was bananas. And
Mhm.
had I not like followed those instincts and said, no, let's just stick to traditional mailing and let's stick to all these traditional things, then I would have missed that. And frankly, I should have taken that texting platform and taken it to market. I would have made a ton of money, but I didn't have that foresight at the time, and I learned from that. So just stick your head up when you're having a lot of problems and issues that everyone is going to run into. like take a breath and see if it's, if there's other things that God may be saying, hey, like look over here. That doesn't mean you should go drop everything like I did, right? It absolutely does not mean that. Let me give that clarifying point. You are likely not being led to go do something drastic like I did. But gosh, I think there's a lot of times where people are being led, kind of like in the real estate example, to like, hey, maybe try a different marketing method, or hey, maybe there's something to add here with AI, where there's a business spinoff where you can generate additional revenue. Like there's a lot of cool things if you pay attention to your instincts, and so don't be too laser focused that you override those instincts.
Wonderful. I'm so grateful I asked you that question, because that was my favorite part of the whole thing so far. It was a phenomenal answer. Now, in the last moment that we have, if there was a question that I didn't ask you that you thought I should have asked you, what would that question be, and answer it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm gonna go a personal route on this one, because
Cool.
I think this is everything. So there are so many people out there, and I know most of these guys. Like if you see a big business influencer on social media with a huge following, I likely know them in some fashion because we speak all over the country. We probably hung out in back rooms with them somewhere. I would say that almost everything you see online is smoke and mirrors, almost all of it. And so there will always be somebody that appears like they're doing better than you in some respect, always. And much of it is likely not true. But I'm trying to remember. I can't remember who I talked to, but they said this. They said, Dane, the grass is always greenest where you water it. Not on the other side of the fence, right? But it's greenest where you water it. And so I'm telling you, I feel like if you have a calling in your heart, if you have a dream, it's because God put it there. And He has something really freaking cool for you to go and fulfill, something for you to go and get. And I promise you that He will give you all of the tools and everything that you need to go and fulfill that dream and fulfill that vision. If you just keep your head up, you look around and you keep your heart and your instincts open so that you can follow along. And you just got to freaking follow, and you'll figure it all out. And so don't be worried about what things may look like on social media. Don't be worried that your timing isn't right, because I promise you the timing is coming together perfectly in the right way. All you've got to do is just like pay a little bit of attention. If you haven't read the book, here's going to be my biggest give. If you haven't read this book, you should go immediately download it right now on Audible. If you're an Audible person, or go order it on Amazon if you're a print person. It's by the author Michael Singer is his name, and the book is called The Surrender Experiment. And it is essentially his life in book form, where he talks about his journey of moving from what was supposed to be a PhD, becomes a PhD educated, but he set on this path to be a PhD educated economist, and how he actually becomes this spiritual yogi and builds a remarkable life, creates an enormous company with opportunities that frankly he couldn't even dream of, but largely came to pass because he was willing to surrender to the path that God was laying before him. If you do that same thing, if you can not even master, but just get halfway decent at following the path that God will lay before you, I can tell you from my own life that your life will become one that you could only dream of. If I could go back 10 years and tell myself 10 years younger at what our life would look like today, I would be in awe, because I live in Puerto Rico on a Caribbean island, married to a wife that is incredible, have 3 businesses that run beautifully, opportunities and experiences so much that I don't have time enough in the day to take advantage of everything that I'd like to. And I'm really blessed, largely in part because I feel like I've been able to surrender to the path that God put before me, and it's remarkable.
I love that. Surrender. I think that's such a great topic. And thank you for the book recommendation. Thank you for being here, sharing not just what you've done to improve your opportunity with not just Bitcoin, with crypto, but to be able to share some really tactical, practical insights. Thank you so much for pouring into the audience today. And guys, if you want to go follow Dane, go to the show notes. We're going to have all of the information to be able to figure out how you can find him online. Any final words, Dane, before we sign off?
No, man, I think we wrapped it up beautifully. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure, man. What a great day to connect, and I appreciate you. And guys, as I always say every single time I'm on here, God bless. And I hope that you keep leveling up your life every single day because you are worth it. God bless.